Aye.
Aye.
Did I get the wrong person I meant?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
okay,
All right, so
Brian.
for the record.
I agree too, so it's
It
all
was
right.
Ms. Lafredo. The second was Ms. Lafredo for the record. I apologize. Dr. Zito, any correspondence?
No correspondence.
No correspondence. All right. Consent calendar, we have approval of the Rocky Hill High School softball team trip and approval of the recommended budget transfers for June 30th, 2022. Any requests to move any items from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Ms. Tucker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved, and we're working on 6-0 tonight. Okay. Before we go into committee reports, I just would like to address one correction, which would be adding number 9 to the agenda, which would be the school safety committee that was deleted. If I can entertain a motion to make that change to the agenda, it will require 2/3 approval from the board. Is there,
Motion to add that to the agenda.
is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by, I think it was Ms. Morphia that time. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. That will now be item 9 on the agenda. All right, committee reports. First, curriculum.
Curriculum did not meet over the summer, but our next meeting is scheduled for August 31st at 6:30.
All right, August 31st at 6:30, curriculum. Facilities, Mr. Gavin.
We are looking to schedule the facilities meeting for next week to review the completion of the middle school science labs, review the schedule for the middle school roof project, and follow up on the plan review regarding the Stevens School HVAC project.
Excellent. I think you were potentially looking at what date,
Is it the
Sean? Next
first?
Thursday, the
I'm
1st
trying.
at 7?
6.
At 6, so,
Couldn't get to it fast enough.
all right, so.
Thursday the 1st, 6
Dr.
p.m.
Zito will send that, can you send that out?
Yeah,
to
and
the
if I
committee
could just
members?
clarify, Mr. Dillon, I think, Ms. Tucker, we wanted to start curriculum at 6, because Mr. Dillon mentioned a policy meeting at 7.
Yep.
So I want to clarify in the 6:30 time back to 6.
Does that work?
Okay.
I think if we
I
can
just
get
wanna
an
make sure I get
email
everything
out.
straight.
Yeah, I think if we can get an email out to all the committee members clarifying, I know that people have been trying to schedule subcommittee meetings, so.
So what I'll do is I'll include it in the weekly update tomorrow morning with the proposed times.
I think we potentially wanted policy to go first because it may be a shorter meeting.
You can, I think if it's the same people are all there, yeah, if the same people are all there, I think who's ever on those committees, I don't care if it gets flip-flopped or not. I think it's as long as the committee members themselves are gonna be there, so let's send something out to all the committee members and see what everyone's got.
Okay.
But I know we're sort of just getting back after the summer break, so
Yep.
a lot of things are floating, but hopefully we can get a schedule put together and Mark can get some emails out.
Yep, okay.
Okay. All right, Finance Committee meeting. I don't think we met.
We have not met since the June 16th meeting.
And I don't think there's any need right now for finance either. P&N,
We do not have any meetings scheduled at this time.
I don't believe we have any pending contracts either, correct?
No, it's typically that committee has a lot of meetings when there's contracts and nothing coming down the pike right now.
All right, policy, which was the other one we talked about.
So we just addressed that. We're scheduled to meet for either before or after the curriculum meeting.
And I did talk to, so everyone's aware, I did talk to Mr. Gavin about Mr. Slattery about the need for a policy committee meeting because of the Chromebook insurance. I think we had the meeting at the beginning of the summer. The board said we defer it to policy, but we really need to finalize that so
Finalize it.
parents are aware of what the final decision is on the insurance requirements. And that would be a policy committee decision.
Yep.
Special education.
We have not met over the summer, but I anticipate we'll meet after the start of the new year, or the new school year, just to kind of touch base and get everything on the same page.
All right. Correct Counsel, Mr. Desai is not here. Are you aware of anything from Correct
Now,
Counsel?
he normally attends those meetings and then just provides an update on the meeting.
Okay. And number 9, School Safety Committee. Mr. Slattery.
So we had our first meeting in that sense. We met with the police department, We had a whole bunch of people involved. We're evaluating, where we're at, and anticipate having another meeting after school starts. So it's on the agenda, and anybody who has any input, please come out. I mean, it's good to hear from the public.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping from that meeting that we get a recommendation from the committee to the full board.
Yeah, so I think at that point, we'll probably put a recommendation up.
Okay, excellent. I thought that was a good meeting, by the way, for
Definitely.
everything. We had
Very good
almost a full board there. It was a very good meeting. All right, any questions from any board members regarding any of the committee reports? I know it's been sort of quiet this summer, so. All right, old business, nothing, Dr. Zito?
Nothing under old business tonight.
All right, item number 9, update on summer facility projects. Mr. LaMontagne.
Good evening, everybody. Can you see everything on your monitors?
Yes.
This is the first time we've done this. This is actually new to me,
All right,
so
let's not break it, right?
figure it out.
The
So-
clicker anymore?
I've been asked to give a quick overview of what's been going on over the summer before the kids come back, and I've put together a little PowerPoint for everyone to see some of the work that's been going on. So we'll begin with Stevens School. We painted the entire gym over from the ceiling down to the floor. Got rid of some of the old peeling paint. It wasn't a lot going on there. We had to install a new art room floor, and we, in conjunction with the town, reconfigured the parking lots and did some paving. At Stevens, here's the original color scheme, and that's prior to our painting. This is touchy. This is the new. We really didn't change the colors much. We added a gray stripe between the colors, but it did brighten up the gym. Especially with the white ceiling that's in there now. So when you do get into the schools, you'll be able to see a brighter, better gym location. During our stripping process of the art room floor, it was determined that a lot of the tiles were starting to pop up. So I was able to take some attic stock from the cafeteria that we did last summer and utilize those materials to install a new floor. It was time. What we've been finding, just so you know, is that when we switched to green stripper and wax, before that mandate went into place, this is prior to me being in this district, they went heavy on using the aggressive strippers, and it pretty much sucked the glue out of these below these tiles. So we've been patching and whatnot through the years, but this time we actually had to do something for the art teacher and the students. The parking lot configuration. Here's a Google image of the old parking lot. During COVID, to avoid parents entering the building and picking up students, we did a temporary reconfigure. We relocated the buses, which used to be in this area here, to the top area, which was the original bus drop-off location, and this became the parent pickup, and it actually worked really well. And Ms. Duran wanted to keep it that way. So during the process of speaking, working with the town to develop the new plan, we made it permanent. These are the drawings that the town were working off of. What we did was we put 2 lanes at the top where the buses were, where the buses are, and this area here is all staff parking. We relocated our ADA parking spaces to this area here, which now helps anyone who needs the ADA access to not have to go down that steep hill that was in front of the building before. We were able to add ADA spaces, and we also, by reconfiguring from to a north-south parking pattern, which used to be We had some north-south and some east-west. It was really a little bit chaotic. We were able to get, several more spaces overall in the parking lot. Here's a picture of the teacher lot and teacher and visitor parking lot from a couple different angles. Here's the new bus entrance parking, and then here's the exit of that same area. At West Hill, we completely refinished the gym floor, and we added cafeteria sound panels to help deaden the noise in that loud cafeteria. There's a big difference between the two elementary schools. Stevens has an acoustic ceiling in place, and we just have a metal ceiling in West Hill. So we were able to add some panels to help alleviate some of that sound. Here's the original West Hill gym floor with the original center court. And we incorporated the school logo and repainted all the game lines and complete refinish. It went down to bare wood. So it was time. We were having some peeling issues and whatnot on that floor that we had to do some maintenance to throughout the year. So it was time. We have one more to do. We did the high school during COVID. We did GMS 3 or 4 years ago. And, Mosier obviously is new. And we'll tackle, hopefully, Stevens next summer. Here's some picture of the cafeteria sound panels that were installed. That was installed by in-house staff. We purchased the materials, and my custodial staff installed all that. Griswold Middle School, which is the highlight of the summer. We renovated the 2 8th grade science classrooms, and we'll start from the demolition phases. Here's a look at, just without the furniture prior to demolition. During the process, it was completely gutted from floor to ceiling. Here's the new installation with the cabinetry going in and the flooring. And just this week, the teachers have been in to start setting up their classrooms and put all their things back in. And here's the look with the new furniture. I'm excited to get everybody over there at some point to have a look at it. The teachers were really impressed and excited to have those new classrooms. And, hopefully next summer we can continue the process and go on to another grade. In addition to those projects, we did our routine summer cleaning and maintenance, which includes, stripping and waxing of floors, deep cleaning from, ceiling to floor, carpet cleaning, HVAC maintenance, all of our required inspections for life safety, fire suppression, those sort of things. We upgraded and installed several additional cameras at multiple schools. We added some additional key fobs to a couple of doors to help mostly to get children into the building if there's something going on outside, so we have quicker access into the building. And then we had multiple classroom teacher moves, some of them actually last minute. But we got it done, and the schools are in really good shape and ready for our kids to come back on the 1st. Happy to answer any questions on any of the projects.
All right, looks great, Ron. Any questions for Mr. Lamontagne?
I don't have a question, but I would like to say, Ron, I think that, I've only been on the board for about 8-10 months, and just seeing what you do with what you have, I think you're an asset to the district.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But it's with your support that I can do it. It's, you guys make it easy for me, so I really appreciate that as well.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments? All right, Ron, thank you so much for that update.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 10, update on COVID-19 protocols for the 2022-2023 school year. Ms. Stevenson.
All right, I think we should have done my presentation and then Ron's because I can't follow that, so sorry. All right, good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. So I'm just going to go through this presentation. So the state released guidance. I think it was around, the end of July, I think they released guidance. So I worked with our head nurse, Renee Garahy, and we worked on this presentation together. So basically, the state really wants to maximize in-person learning, which we already know here in Rocky Hill that that's our priority, and we've been doing that. So we're a little bit ahead of the game, which is great. Just some information about vaccinations. So at this point, everyone 6 months and older can receive both a COVID-19 vaccine and a seasonal flu vaccine. Many school-age children are eligible for a COVID-19 booster right now, and parents and guardians should consult with their pediatrician to determine if they want their child to have a COVID-19 booster. It is likely that the Center for Disease Control will recommend that all eligible school-age children should receive a booster, and I just want to be clear, it should. There's no mandates. All the mandates for vaccines are no longer a thing. We're not doing that anymore for staff, students, but it's just a recommendation. All right, so we know in-person attendance provides the greatest benefit to children for both social, emotional, physical well-being and academic achievement. So this is important right here, the next two bullet points. So the CDC recommends that people with symptoms of infectious disease, COVID-19, flu, should stay home and get tested for COVID-19. While the CDC recommends that any staff or student with symptoms, even with a negative test, should not report for in-person learning, the Department of Public Health supports an alternative approach which Rocky Hill Public Schools will implement. And I'm going to explain that alternative approach. So, staff or students with mild respiratory disease symptoms, infrequent cough, congestion, runny nose, sore throat, no fever, and no known COVID-19 in the household may continue to participate in school with a negative COVID-19 test. Anyone with a fever should not report in person until the fever has resolved for 24 hours without the use of medication, and they should test for COVID-19 and produce a negative test before returning to work or school. COVID-19 self-test kits will be made available to all school districts, so the state is being very clear that they're going to provide us with test kits throughout the year. Families also can order test kits, and I've included the link. The district is going to obtain permission from families and test students in school when necessary. So this is going to look two ways, okay? And I'll just give an example. Johnny wakes up in the morning, Mom, my throat hurts. Johnny's mom is going to have a self-test kit, swab Johnny. It's going to be negative. Johnny has no fever. There's nobody else in the house that has any symptoms or any COVID. Johnny's going to school. Mom is going to call the nurse and say, I took a test. It was negative. He doesn't have a fever. Just want to let you know. Johnny gets to come to school. The second way this is going to look is Johnny's in class. Johnny is sneezing. The teacher says, go to the nurse. Johnny goes to the nurse. The nurse looks where the district is going to do a mass email out to obtain testing from parents. The nurses are going to see if we have testing, if we have consent on file. If not, they'll call the parent, get consent for testing, test Johnny right there in the nurse's office. And if Johnny tests negative, there's no fever, no COVID in the house, Johnny goes back to class. So that's how that's going to look, okay? And again, the goal is to keep kids in school if they have mild symptoms and they test negative. Staff and students choosing to report in person with mild symptoms and a negative test should be strongly encouraged to wear a well-fitting mask indoors, and that will be, reinforced by the school nurses. Anyone testing positive for COVID-19 should complete the isolation protocol. The isolation protocol is still in place, generally 5 days from the onset of symptoms or the date of the positive test. Staff and students can return on day 6 if symptoms have resolved and they're fever-free for 24 hours without the use of medication. If staff or students with a positive test return on day 6, it is recommended that they wear a mask through day 10. There is no longer any recommendation to quarantine if a staff or a student has possible exposure to someone with COVID-19. Whether they're vaccinated, unvaccinated, quarantining is no longer a protocol that we're going to follow. Masks for staff and students are optional. This applies to the classroom, buses, and sports. Reporting of COVID-19 cases. School districts are required to report COVID-19 cases to the Department of Public Health, so that is still a requirement. It is not a requirement to report them to the families, but it is encouraged. So the reporting for the Department of Public Health is done weekly. So Rocky Hill will update the dashboard weekly as well, because I update the Department of Public Health weekly, and we will also update the dashboard weekly. I will remove the quarantine information from the dashboard as well, since we're no longer quarantining students. So I'll be updating that.
But that's a change, just to be clear.
That's a change.
It was being done every day, and I want the community and the board to understand it's going to be done once a week now.
Weekly. Yep. And that's the end of my presentation, so I will be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Hey, well, I think it's the start of a return to normalcy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any questions for Ms. Stevenson?
I do have one question. Consent from the parents to test, if it's not on file, will there be a way that you can get the consent in writing, just so that it's not something that's over the phone? Like,
So-
what would be the plan in
Yep.
that situation where it's not on file and?
I can tell you exactly what we're going to do. We have a Google form. We've been working with Chris Gay. We're going to send out an email to all parents. You guys will get it. And basically, it's a whole protocol. You'll see it. I have a copy of it here if anybody wants to look at it. And parents are going to either sign I consent or I do not consent. Now, if parents sign off that they don't consent,
They gotta pick up their kids.
they're going to pick up their child.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen. If a parent just doesn't fill out the form at all and we don't have consent or, not consent, the nurses will call the parents and say, I have your child in my office. Do I have consent to test him? It would be verbal at that point.
You could follow up with an
We could
email
follow up with an
or
email.
conversation. Yeah.
We can't control what they do, but the nurses could certainly follow up with an email saying, I called you at this time, you gave me verbal consent to test your child, I test your child, the result was negative, your child is going back to school. So we would do that. I'm meeting with the nurses on Monday, so I will be going over all of this with them. Yep.
Any additional questions for Ms. Stevenson? I just have one comment. What I'd like to do is have this posted to the district website. I know the reopening plan is up there now. I'd like to
Yep.
take that down, because we're past that point now, and post this in its place.
So,
What we're planning to do tomorrow, I wanted to wait till we had the board meeting, because Chuck has some good information to share on school breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
So the plan from my office tomorrow, was to send just a general welcome back. The parents have all received welcome back letters from the principals, and frankly,
Yeah.
they love to hear from the principals more than the superintendent.
Yeah.
But they'll get a nice little short letter from me with this presentation, link to it, the information on the school lunch
Yeah.
program, and then we can follow up with posting this on the website. But I do want to link the presentation to tomorrow's letter, too.
That's perfect.
I think I have to keep that document up that says the state document, because that's tied to the,
Oh, it still is? I thought we're beyond that point
I
now.
think we're in our last year of it, and we have to revise it every 6 months, and we have to
Okay.
keep it up. So
Okay.
I have to revise that document,
Okay.
and I will do that, and then that has to stay.
Okay.
That will mirror this presentation.
All right, perfect. If that's what it has to be, then that's perfect. Okay.
Yep.
All right, any final comments from Ms. Stevenson? I think that's a great plan to send that information
Yeah, that
out
was
and
the
then get it
plan.
on the website. Perfect, okay. All right, thank you. Moving on to item number 11, Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Student Services, Ms.
All right,
Stevenson.
very good. Hello again. All right, I just have a quick update. So just wanted to report, and I know Dr. Zito was reporting this in his weekly updates over the summer, but we had a really great ESY experience, extended school year experience. The kids were great. They learned a lot. They had fun. It was probably one of the smoothest ESY experiences that we've had since I've been here. And I really wanted to express my gratitude to the staff that worked. As you know, a lot of districts are really struggling with staffing shortages, and we were staffed well, and the kids were supported. So I just want to thank our staff for stepping up and providing those supports for the students. We worked really hard, and I want to give that credit to Jesse Herman, our special education director. The new IEP 504 data system, that was a big initiative over the summer. It was quite challenging. So there were a lot of bumps on that road, but we feel at this time that we're ready to welcome back our staff and support them with this transition. So we're going to be working on that a lot over the next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week as the staff return. And I just wanted to thank Ms. Herman because she did a really great job. And Ms. Mall as well, my administrative assistant, did an amazing job this summer. They worked so hard on the phone with the state, doing, webinars, trainings. It was pretty intense. So I just, wanted to give them a shout out for that. We will be planning a parent night on October 17th to discuss with parents the new IEP 504 system. So more information will be coming on that because it is quite a change for parents. I know that there were some questions before about we need a parent night, and I was very adamant that we were not going to have one until we knew what was going on. So that will happen in October. So we're working on that. And then I just wanted to mention from the HR office, it was a busy summer, but I'm very excited to announce that we have all of our certified vacancies filled. I had to do a survey for the state this week, and they said, how many vacancies do you have? And I put 0 for everything. And I'm pretty sure we're one of the only districts that submitted that, because I met with someone from another district a couple weeks ago who informed me that the district, while much larger than ours, had 227 vacancies, and we have 0. So I think that's, you should be proud because you're a board. Obviously, people want to work here, and the staff is retained here, and I think that that's really worth mentioning, and I think it's wonderful. So just thank you for all your support, as usual, and that is all that I have. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, any questions on the HR and People Services report from Ms. Stevenson?
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a comment. You give a lot of shout outs, and I'd like from the board to give you a shout out, because I think you're overseeing all this it's just impressive.
Thank you.
And I think that you deserve some recognition for that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. But I'm nothing without my team, so.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on to item number 12, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Mr. Zedegren.
All right, just a few quick items. One in your packet is the financial report reflecting year-to-date figures for the month of July. So with that, there is obviously limited activity, expense activity, in that the report, the fiscal year just started, and the start of school being September 1. So obviously, there is not a lot of activity there, but we're off and running and, beginning that process. And with that, the auditors are scheduled to be in for the 2 weeks beginning on September 6th, performing the work related with the year end of June 30th, 2022 that just finished. A lot of the documents have already been sent to them in preparation of the audit, so we look forward to getting them in and out quickly. As you're all probably well aware, the bus transportation routes have been posted to our Rocky Hill website, and the Stop Finder parent app has been sent to parent and guardians. This allows them to view their child's bus route and stop information. It's a free service, free of charge to parents and guardians, and the use is obviously voluntary, but a lot of parents do like that ability to be able to track the bus. We have not received a lot of calls to date on the app, so I am assuming that people are finding it pretty easy to register and get used to the app. And once the buses start their routes, I think they'll find it very useful. So we look forward to feedback from parents on that. As Dr. Zito had mentioned, we do have some school lunch information. We've had previous discussions with the board regarding the $30 million that was set aside in the governor's budget for school lunch programs. At that point, we were unaware as to how those funds might be distributed to districts, and we recently learned that Rocky Hill would have the ability to receive approximately $433,000, towards that grant, and we had to submit a grant proposal in order to receive those funds. We did that, so we are all set to start receiving those funds and having access to them. This will allow all students to receive free breakfast and lunch until the funds run out in our schools that are offering the breakfast and lunch programs. We are currently estimating or anticipating that these funds will last to probably sometime in November. We'll have a better estimate of how long the funds may last once we get the school up and running and the program going, to see what our actual participation levels are at that point in time. Students who are eligible for the free and reduced lunches will not count against the grant monies received. So in other words, it would just be individuals that typically pay that will basically be using those grant funds. And so we'll be submitting monthly reimbursements to the state for access to those funds. We will be monitoring that information, and we will have to report out to parents 30 days in advance that we anticipate the funds to run out at a certain date so that they can be ready to start paying at that point in time. We are going to request that students and parents fill out free and reduced applications if they're eligible, because that way, when the funds do run out, they'll automatically be enrolled in those programs, and they won't see any change. And it also extends the use of those funds to the district, so they'll, we'll be able to offer that program for a longer period of time. If there are some districts eligible for the grant that are not going to utilize it, then those funds will be reallocated to districts that are opting in, so we may get some additional funds as well. We'll see how that goes. A la carte items will still be, there'll still be a cost to those, so obviously students who purchase those items, will have a cost associated with them. As Dr. Zito mentioned, we will be sending out a communication to families tomorrow on that program, so we'll answer any calls that we may receive in regards to that. But that's some very good news. It's more than what we had anticipated originally, I think. And that concludes my report. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Zettergren?
I have
Yes, well, Ms. Moore, please.
Can we, in that communication that goes out tomorrow, can we add just a little blurb about the app for the buses?
Sure.
Just to remind parents about that.
Yep, and we have gotten some calls, and we've resent out that link, and I think in a couple cases, it was easier just to resend it to everybody, so everybody may have received it twice as well. But it seems to be going well, but I can mention that as well.
Great, thank you.
Along the same topic, if there's questions on where the bus is stopping, or if the app isn't accurate on like a walker versus a bus, do they reach out to you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can communicate to the transportation provider.
Perfect, okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. Zettergren? I just had one, Chuck. Where are we with the breakfast program at the elementary schools? That is not part of this?
No, it is.
So it is
Yeah,
being,
last year we ran a pilot, and then we did, through conversation, mention to the board that the program is really run well.
Yep.
It was a little bit tough to judge just because it was free last year for all students. So, but based on feedback from the principals, they were happy with the program, and we decided to move forward with the breakfast program in those schools this year as well.
so that's included in the 433.
Right.
So at that point, are we gonna need to, I guess, convene finance and talk about a budget going forward when we no longer have the funds, or is it gonna become a paid program? I think that's a board decision, but I think we need to have that conversation.
Yeah, it would be anticipated, this year anyway, when the funds do run out, it would become a paid program. So you may see the participation rate change. That'll probably give us a better idea as to what the actual participation would be, when we do go to the full pay mode.
Okay. I think if we can start, I guess, maybe sending it to finance and then looking at as well as how much it's costing us to run per month at schools.
Sure.
And then talk about what it is. I know, as my understanding was that it was very successful.
Yes.
During the COVID times and well-received, so I think we may want to look at just, continuing it if possible within the.
Yeah,
budget.
definitely. We'll gather more data for the board and report out to you.
Excellent, excellent. Any other, I think Ms. Tucker's
Is
got.
it only at the elementary schools, or has it been discussed to roll it out into other schools as well?
Yeah, at this point, we wanted to get a good handle as to how it would be, from a reception standpoint at the elementary, and I think it's gone well. It'll be interesting to see once we go to a pay mode, what that participation looks like. So right now, the only schools that don't have the best breakfast program are Mosier and Griswold Middle School. So, at that time, we'll have the conversation of how the elementaries are doing and take a look at, or get the board's feedback on whether we'd like to take a look at Mosier and GMS.
Okay, excellent. All right, any other thoughts or questions for Mr. Zedigram? No? All right, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
All right, moving on in the agenda, we have item number 13, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Listro.
Well, I get to start off my presentation with some exciting news. The state recently released our Smarter Balance and SAT scores, and I did a very quick dive. It's only preliminary, but it looks as if we are second in our JERG for outstanding performance across the board in all areas, ELA and math for Smarter Balance and the SAT. And I really, again, we're doing shout outs, but I've got to credit the board for your commitment to keep us open and in person and support in-person learning as much as you did throughout the pandemic. And of course, the dedication and hard work from everybody in this district. The superintendent to all of the administrative staff, to the teachers, the secretaries, the custodians, the paraeducators, everybody contributed to that outstanding achievement. I will be reporting in more detail in October once I'm able to really dig into those scores, but I wanted to share that.
That's
good news
excellent,
with you.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wow, great job, great job.
Yep. Let's see, summer school. We had our in-person summer school at Mosier this year called Celebration of Learning. It was very successful. Approximately 100 students in grades 1 to 5 participated, and they did literacy and math activities throughout the morning, throughout July, to help them continue their learning and to make sure they can start off on the right foot when they come back next week. Summer curriculum work takes place every summer because, our district is very proud of our curriculum and our test scores, but there's always room for improvement. In the past, teachers come in over the summer to work with Paige Weaver. She's our math coordinator, and Mary Schaefer, our language arts coordinator. They update the curriculum, and we use this model to make improvements over the summer. It minimizes instructional loss because we're not doing this work during the school year, and allows us to really just stay current and on top of what we're teaching the students. We don't really take a 5-year curriculum cycle like other districts do. When we know we need some changes, we schedule it and we get that work done over the summer. Last spring, the curriculum committee and the full board approved several new courses, and I'm happy to report the adaptive art and unified art class, ready to go. The new senior advisory course, the new college algebra course, all will be implemented in the fall, ready to go. Tomorrow, we welcome our new teachers for new teacher orientation. You will be meeting them next month. There are 15 new staff members across our district, and at the same time while we're welcoming the new teachers, we are also welcoming in the new freshman class to our high school. So tomorrow, the walls and the halls of the high school will be filled with teachers and students, which is pretty exciting. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we have district professional development with the teachers. That will provide time for them to meet in their departments, in their teams, prepare for instruction, review curriculum updates. They'll be participating in mandatory training. It also includes non-certified training, which Ms. Stevenson will run for our paraeducators. The secretaries took on some training under the direction of Mr. Zettergren this week. They were trained in some new programs they'll be using at the school. High school staff this year will be deeply involved in preparing for our NEASC accreditation, which is taking place in March. So I will be reporting that to you as we go on throughout the year. You will see on your table, we did a couple quick updates over the summer for our open house schedule. So we shared that with you. It's been posted on our district website. And we are excited to host families back to visit classrooms in person on Wednesday, August 31st. So it's been a long time since we've been able to do that, and we are very excited to do that. We have special extended sessions. You'll notice on the schedule, we shifted the open houses for pre-K and K to combine with their meet and greet, and that allows, in kindergarten, for example, the students to ride the buses. We also thought that was good coming out of the pandemic for parents in our youngest grades to get exposure, for the kids to be comfortable coming back to school. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then lastly, I'm also working with Mr. Zettergren for our annual bus driver welcome back breakfast. We are planning that for the beginning of September. That is when we talk to the bus drivers about reminding students about proper bus safety. We have a positive support system that we have in place with yellow bus tickets that we talk to them about and answer questions. So we're excited to host that again this year.
Yeah, I neglected to report, the majority of our drivers are coming back, which is a good thing. They get to know the students really well as the parents. And that New Britain Transportation has already started having the drivers, because as you know, we're changing the routes by combining the high school and GMS, so they've started those routes to get the drivers already familiar with them, so that's a good thing.
And I can vouch for that. I've seen them driving around. They're driving around. They're what?
Yeah. Yep.
Checking them out.
All right, any questions for Ms. Listro? All right, well, that was great news. I have one
Yes.
question. Since we were number 2 in both categories in our DIRG, was the same town number 1?
No, but I gotta tell you,
All around.
in some cases, we were neck and neck only by like 2 or 3 tenths of a point.
Wow.
So in my opinion, we're pretty much tied
All
for
around.
first.
we're number 1. All right, that is great. That is great news.
But I'll show you the full report when we discuss this topic in more detail in October. But
town on the SBAC,
outstanding
on
scores.
the SAT.
Yes, outstanding. And it was a
Excellent.
different town in each category.
That is great.
Mm-hmm.
So all around, we're number 1 then. All right. All right, moving on. Thank you for that report, though. That was great to hear. Moving on to Superintendents Report. Dr. Zito.
Thank you. So we're excited about the upcoming school year. We have many teachers who've already been back in the schools this week. They're setting up their classrooms. They're eager to welcome our kids back. We start on September 1st, and I think there's a lot of excitement this year. It does kind of feel like we're a little bit back to normal now for the first time. I think that the worst days of the pandemic are behind us, which is certainly welcome news. I want to thank Ms. Listro, Mr. Zettergren, Ms. Stevenson, Mr. LaMontagne for all the reports they did tonight. As you can see, even though it's technically summer break, the district's leadership team remains very busy throughout the summer so we can prepare for the opening of school. Amy and Darlene both alluded to it, but it was a busy hiring process. I did, during communications, forget we had a beloved library media specialist, Gabrielle Cibillo. She moved to North Carolina. Her husband had a great job opportunity, but we filled the vacancy within a week, so we are 100% staffed. But we will be welcoming, she was the West Hill media specialist, we will be welcoming 15 brand-new teachers to Rocky Hill, and also new board-certified behavioral analysts. So we have a lot of new faces coming in. You'll meet them at the September meeting when they have an opportunity to come and get introduced to the board. We do that every year. I think the board always enjoys interacting with the the new teachers, and they really enjoy being invited to the meeting. As Darlene mentioned, the veteran teachers are reporting on Monday. They have 3 work days, and then the kids will be back on Thursday. The fact that the board scheduled 2 days for the first week, I think, is a good way to ease the kids in advance of the Labor Day weekend. So they go with 2, and then they kind of go to 4, and then back to a 5-day week. And typically, the feedback on that is pretty positive. And then I will send out the update tomorrow. I'll update when we're having those committee meetings. I'll probably have to call a couple of you, but I'm looking at August 31st, Wednesday, to schedule curriculum and policy, and then facilities Thursday. And we'll start both of those evenings at 6 o'clock. And I just have, Brian, I'm gonna actually call you, and we'll figure out how we wanna do the curriculum versus policy times. So
I'm fine. I mean, I
we
think
can
just,
go either way.
yeah,
It doesn't matter to me.
just ask the
You guys
subcommittee members.
wanna flip them, that's fine. We can start policy.
Yeah.
I'll probably be at both, so.
Okay, so what I'll
And
do
you
probably
guys,
is
while
go,
you're here, sound good?
everybody
I'm
good?
fine with either or, yeah.
We'll go
Either way.
policy, and then we'll start curriculum immediately following. I don't want to
Yeah.
have, if we're done with policy in 10 minutes, we should just jump right
I
in.
think policy is gonna be very quick, but just process-wise, it should go to the committee before the full board, that's all.
Yeah, so we'll start with policy, and then immediately after, we'll dive into curriculum.
So policy at 6, is that?
Policy will start at 6, and then the following night, we'll start facilities at 6. And I've scheduled both meetings with Ron to be held at Mosier School, because that's a good meeting space for these committee meetings. The only other item is I'd like to introduce, I have another intern this year. I don't know why these universities keep assigning them to me, but Christy.
You're doing something right,
Bordello.
Mark. You're doing something right,
going on.
Mark.
Because we're first
Call me every
overall.
year. Mr. Bordello is a Middletown principal, a colleague from way back in East Hartford. She was a teacher at O'Connell School where Mr. Nozick used to work. We're going back like 15 years now. Christy has had a very successful leadership career now, leading an elementary school in Middletown, and she's going to be around at a lot of our meetings, so you'll see her, just like you saw Mr. Foti and Dr. Diaz-Santiago last year. So you see a lot of Christy this year. So
Welcome. Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
We need visitors, so as you see, we don't usually pack the house here for our meetings, so you'll
I
help us.
explained to both of our other guests this evening before the meeting, when we do student awards, we get a great turnout. Other than that, we typically don't have a large audience at our meetings.
Yeah, we're not popular, I guess, with the public, yeah. All right, any questions for Dr. Zito on his report? Hearing none, all right, I'll move on to Chairman's report. I'll be very brief. Again, I'd just like to thank the administration for all the work that they've done this summer. You know, we continue to do a lot of positive things within our district, and it's really the hard efforts and the leadership of the administration throughout the year that really sets the tone for the successes of the Rocky Hill School District. So thank you so much for all your efforts. With that said, the only other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm excited for a return to normalcy for this upcoming school year. Fingers crossed, I will be smiling all the time if we do not have to have reopening committee meetings, COVID discussions, and safety plans. Fingers crossed, let's just hope for a really normal school year. I think the students and the families deserve it. It's a long time coming. It's been quite a few years of sort of uneasiness and shifting and flexibility to make the schools work, but hopefully this year and going forward, things will just be back to normal. So I'm wishing the best for all the students and families for Rocky Hill Schools this year. So with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Morphia, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.